Hey, what's going on? Welcome to GirlCrazies Radio, the official radio of GirlCrazies.com, the newest men's website that's full of fun for the fellas, and also the place where being crazy for the ladies is the norm. GirlCrazies is spelled GirlCrazy like zebra, IES. And I'm your host, DJ. And today I'm gonna give you the game on doing your taxes in 2012 so you're set and prepped and maybe pull a nice refund out the deal. Now, doing your taxes is a motherfucker, and every year it gets harder and crazier. In the past, my friends, myself as well, we got fucked over by the taxes a little bit. We got fucked over by tax pros. You got situations where you'll try and pull a decent refund one year, and tax pro being tax preparer will just kind of let you know, hey, I can maybe get you this amount of money. You're looking at the situation. You might not have been offered this before. You might have shopped around. Nobody else is coming with those kind of numbers, so you end up co-signing it and kind of jumping on board with this guy. Coming to find out, he has something shady going on, and you may have some issues later on down the line coming from the IRS. So in a lot of cases, IRS will try and audit you, especially if there's any sort of red flags in the situation. They're gonna ask questions regardless. First off, get all your receipts, canceled checks, W-2s, 10-something forms. That could be 1040, 1099, 1098, and whatever else you got to show your income and deductions that you're gonna claim this year. Now, to save yourself some money, you can go to irs.gov, spelled gov.com, for a free tax prep form from the IRS directly, as long as you're making $50,000 or less. The IRS tax software is brand name, and anyone can find their category, prep their tax return, and then e-file it all for free. There's also the free file fillable forms online if you make more than $50,000 or you just want to do your tax return. Now, if you got any tax questions, just go to the interactive tax assistant that's also on the irs.gov site as well. Once you've done your calculations and filled out all the forms, go back through, double check and review everything at a much slower pace, because any fuck ups will just slow down your process of getting your tax return back or any refunds for that matter. Now, your next option on filing taxes can be going to a tax preparer or a tax pro. Like I mentioned earlier though, tax pros tended to be shitty and shady in their business practices just to get a little bit extra bread out of you during tax season. The good thing though is the IRS has kind of put a stop to that bullshit by issuing all paid tax pros filing more than 10 returns a tax identification number, or a PTIN, which basically holds tax pros a little more accountable and weeds out the shitty ones. And it kind of gives you something a little more to go on, kind of like a background check a little bit, besides just kind of taking a tax pro's word like we used to back in the day. Now, to be safe and thorough, you want to try to check the tax pro's history with the Better Business Bureau, the IRS Office of Enrollment, their license status with the State Board of Accountancy, and State Bar Association of Attorneys. This is all just so you can get some sort of a familiarity with your tax preparer, because at the end of the day, it's your money. It might seem a little extra, but it pays off. Find out about the service fees and charges, because you want everything to be legit, and that means avoiding the motherfuckers that are charging for a percentage of your refund. Man may hook you up with about $8,000 with everything that you did last year, and he's looking for a cut of $1,000 of that $8,000. Now that right there is suspect. That's a problem, because it should be a flat fee for you or anybody else walking through the door. Same as you can't be messing with any tax pro that approaches you with depositing your money in his account instead of your own account, because you're paying for a service and he's supposed to provide a service. It shouldn't go any further than that. Also, be skeptical of any tax pro promising a big heist-sized refund that no one else is offering. If you've went around the block a little bit to check and see how much you're looking at, and then here you got a dude who's got this massive amount waiting for you if you go with him, and it's nowhere near anything you've heard prior to walking in his door. There's a problem with that. That dude is either going to get on some illegal stuff or he's lying to you. When you're working with a tax pro, make sure you bring all your records and receipts to file with, and again, hit that exit if he's not trying to see any of your tax documents or he's not asking any questions about your income, expenses, deductions, and whatnot. He's supposed to already be trying to ask how much money you made, what are your expenses, your bills, gas, all of that. And you want to see this dude calculating and typing on something. Do not file with your last pay stub or with a tax pro that's willing to let you file with your last pay stub. Don't sign any blank returns from a tax pro, because all of this is basically against IRS rules. Make sure you check out and read through all the paperwork, ask questions, and make sure you understand everything before you sign your return, because when it comes down to it, it's all on you. You're the one who's going to get audited. Any questions, IRS is going to come to you and you're going to end up going to the tax pro, but it falls on your head if anything goes wrong. You and your tax pro have to sign the form, and he has to also sign it with his tax ID number as well, and give you a personal copy of your return walking out the door for your records. If there's any questions from the IRS, you want to be able to reach for it, have it available. Still on the subject of shady tax companies, some are offering free tax preparation this year, but it's usually for a short time, or it's the easiest 1040 easy return, so very few people end up qualifying for this. Anything extra, like say if you got earned income credit or dependents, you miss out on the deal, but they leave this part out of the commercial to kind of get you in the door. Also, take a serious look at how accessible your tax pro is going to be. Does he have other tax pros over there backing him up? Does he have a receptionist? Is he just a one-man operation? Because if dude is running a one-man operation by himself, no receptionist, no tax pros backing him up, and you see lines of folks waiting in the lobby, that's going to be a problem as time goes down the line. If the IRS has any questions or you get audited, anything of that nature, and you have to go through him, you're going to be waiting in line, you're going to be sitting on hold, he's going to be trying to dodge your calls, you're going to be catching voicemails, and that right there is going to prolong your process. So you want to try and get somebody who you know is going to be there kind of to have your back if there are any questions. You may go straight through, but still you want to make sure in the worst case scenario you cover. This is especially crucial because you may possibly have issues after the April due date, and you want to know that things are going to be situated ASAP. Let's talk deductions. One way you can bring down your tax bill is to give to charity, which will get you a tax credit. Tax credits generally either lead you to pay less or maybe a refund. Either way, it's a win-win. You can also get a deduction on interest paid on a student loan, even if you don't itemize or list all your deductions as a student. Now, if you're a student, listen close because this is major. You got the American Opportunity Tax Credit, which offers up to about $2,500 within your first 4 years of college, and this is with you studying at least half the time. And the income to file as single is $90,000 or less, and if you married a joint, $180,000 or less. Now, basically, your typical person, not to talk of your own student, is maybe coming in half of that. So with that said, you definitely want to try and apply and see the eligibility, see if you fit in there perfectly to get a piece of that, because it's a great tax credit. Another good deduction is the home office deduction. If you work from home, even part-time, you gotta jump on it. To qualify, you only need to have a separate room or part of a room used mostly for your office work or as a work storage area. As far as business expenses, which are just the cost of you running your business that you want to be deducted on your taxes, the expense must be almost a tool of the trade for your business and very necessary to it. For example, in most cases, a laptop will kind of fall in as a business expense. Now, if you're self-employed, here's some game for you. Any additional work besides your regular full-time job or any part-time work at the house can put you as self-employed in the IRS's eyes. Being self-employed, you gotta pay a self-employment tax. Now don't freak out. This is basically just the equivalent of a Medicare and Social Security tax that regular 9-to-5 working folks gotta pay. Remember, you can deduct half of your self-employment tax from your overall income, which is a real good look math-wise because your regular 9-to-5 folks don't have that option. The self-employed are also responsible for paying estimated tax payments that'll be paid a couple of times throughout the year, usually quarterly with each season of the year. You want to try and pay it so you don't get penalized by the IRS for underpayment. Now, if you got a small business, you got to beware of the 1099-K form. Basically, this form here records payments you received last year either by credit cards or a third-party company like PayPal. Now, in the past, with your small business, you just gave the IRS whatever numbers you felt or what you wanted them to know on the surface. And the IRS basically had to take your word for it. The 1099 fucks up the game on that. It's gonna be able to know your secret money trail and trace it back to you. Some good news for you working for self: if you paid health insurance, you got a chance to deduct your premium that is paid on your child that's under 27 years old. This is even with your child not being your dependent, which is a beautiful thing because most of those child tax credits, the child has to be a dependent. As far as dependents go, know that a child can be claimed a dependent during the birth year. So if you got a newborn, go ahead and claim them. You can also get a child tax credit for each child you carry that's under 17 years old. And if you're not getting the full amount of your child through the regular child tax credit, see if you're eligible through the additional child tax credit. Another credit to try and get is the Child Independent Care Credit, where you just need to be paying someone to babysit your child. The child has to be under 13 years old while you worked or were looking for work. Now, if you're the latter, that's the move because it's still a tax credit for you to claim at the end of the year. There's also the adoption credit, which is the tax credit for the expenses to adopt a child. Keep in mind, you got to qualify and you got to file with those adoption documents included in your tax return when you send it to the IRS. Also keep in mind, if someone claims you as a dependent, you might still have to file depending on your income, marital status, and any taxes you may owe. So that's a Girl Crazy session on taxes. For more info and fun, visit GirlCrazies.com, spelled GirlCrazy like zebra, IES. Thanks for listening.